So, beloved ones, before we sing the Lord's Prayer and have our time of meditation, I want to take this moment to introduce a wonderful friend and colleague, a man who I see as having great vision, a man who has a heart that oozes peace and calm and love, centeredness, and the truth. I had a wonderful opportunity to work with this gentleman when he was the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries, the head of the Association of Unity Churches. He is the senior minister of Spiritual Life Center in Sacramento, California, the spiritual worship leader. He is also a trained lawyer and has a consulting group called the Trapp group, which is centered around helping individuals and companies to reach their highest and their best and to express that, to come forth and put spiritual principles and truths into those organizations and leaders. He has a penchant for the global expression of spirituality, has attended the World Parliament of Religions in Barcelona, Spain, and in Australia as well. A man of great character and truth. And so I'm delighted to have him here this morning. And I know that you all will give him a wonderful Unity of Washington, D.C. He's been here before when we moved into the church early on. So it's just high time that he's come back again. But I want to, after we do our Lord's Prayer, and he'll come bring the meditation for us, but let's just give him a warm Unity of Washington, D.C., love-filled, dynamic, energy-filled spirit congregation. Warm welcome to Reverend James Trapp.
It is so good to be back here at Unity of Washington, D.C. with my very good friend, Reverend Sylvia. Yes, she was reminding us that I was here when they did the dedication of this building. How long ago was that? I can't remember now. 2009. Wow, it's been too long. It's good to be back. So it's a plum, as my friend Russ Brown would say, it's a plum pleasing pleasure to hang out with y'all here today. I was in town because I was here to celebrate the retirement of my sister and contacted Reverend Sylvia about speaking today. And interesting that as I was taking, the flight overnight here from California, where I'm currently residing, I already made up my mind what I was going to talk about until I heard the chilling news about what happened in Dallas. And of course, as we stopped over in Phoenix and was watching the news and seeing what was happening, and it changed my thoughts about what to share with you a little bit today. As I like to say, as you probably know, that, if you want to make God laugh, tell God what your plans are. Those things are always changing. Things are shifting around us all the time. And we have to be able to be one with that. And so I had some thoughts I was going to share, and I'll still share most of them, but I thought I'd set aside some of those things just to address, what we've gone through. And it was great to hear so many people saying what they will do to make a contribution, to make a difference, and help transform the very world in which we live, because that's what we are here to do. And so when I heard about those events, as well as the two men who were fatally shot by the police in Minnesota and Louisiana, and as many of you are aware, that it was been something that was caught on camera and watched by millions of people across the globe. And in many respects, it created a schism, within this country, reminding that the beloved community that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about still has some work to do. we've got some work to do. But if we look at those incidents from a spiritual perspective, we realize that these events are opportunities for us to grow collectively into our spiritual essence. They're here to serve as reminders of our potential, our possibilities, and why we are here. And I believe all of these things begin to come to light in a very drastic way, and sometimes poignant way, in a sharp way, in order that they may be healed. I think all of the challenges that we face on the three-dimensional world and in our three-dimensional life, they may be mental, emotional, physical, economic, but all solutions are spiritual. All solutions are spiritual. And so I believe I will spend some more time addressing that topic more extensively if I've reflected more upon it. But I'd like to tackle a question that some individuals have raised as a result of these incidents which have brought so much to the forefront. Sometimes people ask me, maybe as ministers, when things come up like this, they think we're the answer people. We have the answer for everything, We know it all. The fact of the matter, we don't know much, like anyone else. But of course, when we say we don't know anything, then Spirit can provide us everything. But someone asked me, do you really believe that peace and harmony and nonviolence can happen in this country, in the world in which we live? Do you believe that is possible? And I believe those who are on the spiritual path, who understand who and what they really are, that we have a resounding yes, it is possible. Because we know that with God awareness, God consciousness, that all things are possible. I believe it's also our divine birthright. It doesn't mean that these things will be easy. Trying to figure out the steps along the way to bring about the healing on the spiritual, on the three-dimensional plane. There are a lot of experts who are out there who do their things in different levels, whether it's politically or socially or with a civil rights perspective, legislatively. But I think one of the most important parts is that spiritual perspective. Because there's something that we can do right here and right now, as many have shared today, that they're bringing an energetic to make a difference in the world. And I think it starts out by realizing and accepting and embodying the realization of our oneness as expressions of God. As I was listening to the wonderful music of the trio and the choir, you could feel that oneness. You could feel it through song. It's kind of like, it was the music from the spheres that was coming through, and we're feeling our connectedness to that. And I believe that there's a universal song of oneness that's proliferating everywhere. And we see the physical manifestation, this physical expression of that oneness that we call the universe, which is the body of God. That we're literally seeing the rhythm of the God's spiritual intention in form. And I think there's a timeless melody of oneness, of beauty and order and symmetry that is being expressed through this presence. And we are here to be the expression of that. We're here to continue where this presence of God has left off within us. A while back I read about a study of newborn monkeys. And it said that the mother would hold the baby to his breast for a long period of time, even while it was sleeping. And the mother would never let it go. It would never let go of the newborn monkey. And they discovered that in the animal kingdom, that there's no such thing as crib death and things like that. They don't happen in the animal kingdom. Because the baby's heart gets entrained to the strength of the mother's heart. And the mother knows intuitively when to release the monkey, the baby monkey, when the heart is strong enough. Because sometimes in the human realm, we have babies sleep in other rooms and have problems because, they have nothing to attach themselves to. Whereas these monkeys, the rhesus monkeys, holds the baby until there's an entrainment. And then it releases it so it can stand on its own. I think like that rhesus monkey, there has been an entrainment to the heartbeat of the mother. And we, being made in the image and likeness and out of God, have been trained to the rhythm of this grand universe and have within us all of the qualities of the Spirit of the living God. You may be familiar with that scriptural reference in Genesis, where it says God created humankind in His image. In the image, God created them. And God blessed us and said, be fruitful and multiply. And I believe it means that we're here to go forth and multiply the divine qualities of God. And we know that God is not a person but a presence. But it's a presence that is within every person. In any event, as we've been made in this image and likeness, I think in our own unique way, we're here to represent and serve as a vehicle, as a vessel to enhance what God is in this dimension and is so needed in our world today. We're here to add to that universal song that is always present. We're here to add our verse to it. So I think we're here to re-record in our own personal human experience the timeless melodies of God and to reveal it on earth in such a way so the music of the spheres reach through us, through our voice, through our tonality, everything that we think, because in fact, it's already here. It's already here. You know, that statement that comes in scriptures that says, before they call, I've already answered you. What it means it's already present. And our job is to raise ourselves to be one with the one. So we ask ourselves, how do we give voice to it in our own life? How do we tune our ear? How do we tune this finely tuned instrument that we have that God has created? Because we're a universe in miniature, by the way. How can we be the expression of that in our own world? I think first of all, we start by remembering that the melodies of God that we seek to express in this human experience is in fact within us. So our task is to eliminate any discord in our own consciousness that is preventing from this hearing it in our own life and recognizing it and allow it to be expressed through us. So I'm going to identify a few things that individuals can do to create the discord in their life. No one here, but you know people like this, Wilson. You understand. People who are blocking their own good. Sometimes they create that discord in their consciousness and they block themselves from hearing and recognize the divine melodies of spirit that are here to be expressed. And we can do that if we want to. We have this freedom of choice. And it's a possible way for a human being to be in this world. But I figure if you're going to do it, you may as well just be good at it. If you're going to block your good, just block it completely out. I mean, no need to go halfway if you're going to do anything. Just go all out with it. And so I think the first thing to successfully create a discord in our consciousness and prevent that good from flowing through us is just be a complainer all the time. I'm not talking about righteous indignation, when things are going wrong, but, people who just complain all the time. And they go to search every day for something to complain about. They have to find something in God's great universe to complain about till they find it. And they just complain until they complain without ceasing. That's kind of opposite of praying without ceasing. They complain without ceasing. And the whole being becomes a big complaint. But we know that complaining is the inability to see the Christ. It's a public declaration that says, I can't see God. That's what complaining means. I can't see God. So we do it sometimes till it blocks our vision, blocks our insight. And all we see is negativity and missed opportunities and bad thoughts. And we become such a magnificent complainer that it blocks so much good that it becomes part of our subjective way of being, and it just makes life get worse and worse and worse. Like I said, no one here, but folks like that. But then, of course, if we really want to block our good, we got to learn to blame. Now, there's some people who are experts at blaming, but they haven't combined blaming with complaining. They're just good blamers. They take no responsibility for their life, and soon anything that goes wrong, they know exactly who to blame. You know, it's their mother. I was dressed funny when I was young. You know, it's my ex-husband, my ex-wife, my ex-boss, my present boss. They just know how to blame. Sometimes in some people's life, it's kind of hit and miss. Life's good, looks good at times, but to successfully create discord in our consciousness and block our good, we have to really, really complain till it gets into every cell of our body until there's a complaining and a blaming without ceasing. But then there's number 3. Instead of using creative time and energy to vision and create our goals, there are a lot of people who block their good by creating excuses. They have all kinds of excuses why their life is not working. They just keep thinking, this is the reason my life is not working. You know, my parents divorced. I was born under wrong stars. My astrological sign is just not right for me. You know, I was too tall, too short, too dark, too tall, didn't have enough money, had too much money. Well, wait a minute, no, but that's impossible. It's possible to have too much money. But they just write out all their excuses just to serve them, just in case they need them. And somebody may come up to them and say, you know, I see that things aren't working right for you. What is it? And they may pick up a piece of paper and say, number 142. Oh, I'm black. Or, okay, there's number 49. I'm a woman. Somebody say, it's not working for me. Oh, I'm transgender. Nobody likes me. So we may create all kinds of excuses. And then they'll feel confident that whenever things are not going right, they just have them right there, those excuses right before them. And they'll become fluent in excuses as to why life is not working. Just creating all kinds of discord and blocking the good that is always there. You understand? But I say if you really want to nail this thing down, the blocking our good, some just don't know how to do this, but you got to really know how to hold a grudge. Now, there's some masters at that. Now, there's some novices too. But some are just learning and just taking baby steps. But we don't want to just go halfway, like I said, with anything. We want to hold a grudge. You got to have some resentment towards somebody. You know what a grudge is. It blocks the flow of creativity. It doesn't allow us to remember very well. Kind of dissipates our energy. It doesn't allow for the vision of God to come through. It blocks the circulation in our life. But a grudge does more than that. Grudge is kind of like a condensed thought that in our awareness, and it becomes symptoms of our life, problems in our body temple, ways that don't quite work, that come into alignment. And, you know, we use this to block our good. So if you really want to block the flow of good, you got to hold a grudge. Then you got to add this to it. Whoever you're holding a grudge against, whenever there's somebody you don't like, whenever somebody mentions their name, just roll your eyes. Oh, my God. Just roll your eyes. You know how it goes. Someone brings up their name in conversation and says, oh, yeah, I know that person. It just sinks into our whole body, and it becomes a feeling. And anytime we hear their name, we say, oh, my God. Then, of course, we know when we do that, when we hold that grudge, you know, it turns into a back pain, and then we get a crook in our shoulder and a pain in our neck, and we don't know why, but, you know, we know why. We're blocking our good because we're blocking it by holding that grudge. But we block God consciously or unconsciously whenever we do that. I say all these things tongue-in-cheek. You know, all the seriousness in the world, you know, we got to keep it light at times. But we want to tease into consciousness, you know, the mental habits and things that we don't want to do so we can clear that channel to be in alignment with the universal principles and the song of God, so that we have a moment-by-moment encounter with Spirit, so that we're on this life adventure to have that moment-by-moment encounter with God. I think here lies the the mystery of mysticism. Here lies the mystery of genuine spirituality. We live in something that's uncaused. It's never had a beginning. It always is in this moment. And we want to lift our attention to be one with that. Sometimes in our life when we have good things happen, people will look at you and say, how did you cause that to happen? But we have to realize that we didn't do it. Something happened because we got out of our own way in order for it to happen through and as us. When we understand that, we realize that we cannot use spirituality to succeed. It's common today, and the consciousness is rising and expanding to try to use spiritual ideas and techniques to succeed. But it really cannot be done because the spiritual ideas cannot be used. It simply is already. And all it's doing is waiting for a consciousness that's receptive enough to be used by it. It's used by it. We're here to be used by it. So we can be those pure in heart that's 100% in this life, demonstrating and revealing and expressing and embodying those ideas. I imagine that this is what Jesus meant in Matthew, the 9th chapter and the 16th verse, where he has said that no one can add a new piece of cloth to an old garment. That has been used will fill it up and make the old worse. It'll make the rent worse. And I've always interpreted that to mean that we can't take an old spiritual idea and add our old lifestyle to it. Instead, our lifestyle has to be spiritual. Sometimes people want to take their old lifestyle and they want to add a little potpourri of spirituality in it. Take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they say, well, then I can make, my lifestyle a little bit better. I can cope with life a little bit better. But we can't take a new cloth and add it to an old garment. That's what we use it, will make the whole garment worse. And we'll be confused. And we'll try to serve two masters. And our life will be lukewarm. And we said when our life is lukewarm, spirit will spew it from its mouth. But we're here to add a verse. We can't use spiritual principle to succeed. Instead, we must be devoted to spiritual principle, making it our way of life. Making it our way of life. So we're not here just to succeed strictly on a materialistic point of view. There's nothing wrong with that. It's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. But I believe there's a new spiritual definition of success. To be of service to an idea. To be of service to that spiritual idea. And involved in that idea is abundance and prosperity and unbounded energy. And bounded in that idea is vitality and transforming knowledge and divine wisdom. In that idea is compassion and understanding and an ability to forgive ourselves and others and to see things rightly. To be of service is to open ourselves to the grand song and to add our verse called our life, and to become those finely tuned instruments of the Spirit of the living God. There are some people who don't realize how much talent and power they have. Sometimes they're waiting to get the power, to get the talent, to get the capability. But if we wait for something, we will not have it. But if we use what we have, we'll discover this talent within us that will be expressed and increased along the way. Some people would rather stay stuck in where they are and not bring forth their unique verse to this universal song of oneness. And they resort to excuses and they become confused. They sometimes maybe have a lack of clarity in their life. But we don't want to do that, because when people do that, they're saying to themselves, I don't want to yield that much power. I don't want to yield that much responsibility to be the great persons that we're meant to be. And we may act confused and say, I don't know what to do with my life. Please, we already know. We have to say yes to that presence, so we don't fall prey to separating ourselves to the power of God. We don't fall prey to the fear that is sometimes around us. Rather, we want to be in alignment with the faith of who and what they are, because the Spirit of God has faith in us. As it says, we were not born with a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and love and a sound mind. That's who and what we really are. That's what the world needs today. I think when we express who and what we are adding that verse to that universal song of oneness that is already here. When we practice these principles, we begin to break down the artificial barriers that human beings have created barriers between people, between groups, between nations. We're here to download that beloved community that Dr. King dreamed about and others have also spoken about. And we realize it is a time for that idea to be expressed now more than ever. And we'll begin to look at each other, and we'll begin to see beauty in every individual. We'll stop seeing differences. We'll say, as we see another person walking down the street, look at that wonderful light shining through that person. We'll no longer just see color. We'll see just the different shades of the infinite. And we won't see separate cultures. We'll see the many variations of how the infinite spirit needs all of these cultures to reveal its infinitude. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. We'll see that the earth is the Lord's. And we'll see that the heavens are everywhere, are indeed glorifying the presence of God. We're glorifying the presence of God. We're glorifying the beloved community. So what we want to do is do our part to expand that community. And all we have to do is take one area of our own life where we can say and intensely practice that love ethic. The one thing that binds all of humanity together. The one thing that we say that God is, no matter what spiritual tradition we come from. So we take one area of our life where we can rebel against business as usual. One area of life where forgiveness becomes the order of our day. Our seemingly upside down world can be made right side up. We do this in our own environment, and then we watch it spread like wildfire because we are in tune with the way things really are spiritually. That underneath business as usual, underneath the seeming discords that we see in our world, we understand there is an idea. There is a spiritual plan. There is wholeness. There is harmony. And so I say, brothers and sisters of God, the time is now. The place is wherever we are to be more than we ever thought we can be. Our country and our world needs us to be channels of the full expression of the presence of God, so that we may anchor that beloved community on earth as King and others have envisioned, and as it is in the mind and the heart of the Spirit of the living God. Because this is a magnificent idea whose time indeed has come and in time indeed has passed. It is past due. And we help bring about this idea by adding our verse to this universal song of oneness. And we see heaven anchored on earth. This is our commission and our charge and why we are here. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. God bless.